Hi, and welcome to the Little Bite of Everything podcast.
This podcast is for foodies, life enthusiasts, creatives, deep thinkers, you name it.
We believe in the power of insightful conversations. So, let's bite down on diverse topics, discussing our personal perspectives and experience. What are we waiting for?
Let's dig in. Hi, have you eaten yet? Welcome back to A Little Bite of Everything, the podcast. We are your hosts, Maribel,
April,
Cindy, Carol.
Today we'll be talking about how we are facing our quarter life crisis in our mid-20s, and in Carol's case, well, late 20s. We have a few questions, and yeah, let's get into them. So mid-20s, late 20s. How did you guys imagine your 20s would look like? And how did the pandemic, I guess, affect the goals that you had prior to this whole crazy year and continuation of the year that we're looking at?
Well, it was hard, definitely. But I think we're all trying to just hang in there and hope for the best. I don't know how long that I'll be hanging there for, but I'm still trying to hold as long as I can. Well, I guess in 20s, just in general, me and one of my best friends back in middle school, high school, we had this a 10 years goal, which pretty much ended in 2020, just last year, and then we started 2010. And back then we were just saying that in 10 years, my goal was to be able to, because back then I was planning to study abroad and kind of live overseas. So my goal was basically to be able to kind of work in the other country or finish my school and be financially independent out there, and which is basically what I'm doing right now. So, which is great. And her goal back then was to become a lawyer in China, and she just passed her Chinese bar in 2020. So it pretty much both of us are just kind of get there, where we wanted to be. So that was great. And then thinking back to it, I think it was also because back then we're also in high school, what can you expect, right? You just kind of have to go forward step by step. So eventually you will either become, working in a 9-to-5 or become, you're gonna land in your career, right? Eventually anyways. So I think that was just easy, basically just setting up your goal, what kind of career you want to go in and what kind of thing you wanted to go for after school, that kind of thing. So that kind of just happened naturally, was a little bit of direction or kind of approach to get to there. Yeah, so I don't know, thinking back to it, I also feel having a goal is really important. It's kind of nice to have it out there. So you just keep thinking about it and then keep having it as your guidelines or direction to go to. Well, of course, it's going to change throughout the time because things happen, right? Predictably, unpredictably. So, but it's always to have one there to start with.
I like your answer. I feel like we all had hopes and dreams and things that we wanted to accomplish within our early 20s, late 20s, mid 20s, everything, all 20s. I once heard, it was so funny actually. I was on my airplane flight to Korea or to Vegas before I caught my flight to Korea when this man sat next to me and he was talking to me and the other young lady that was sitting next to us, and he was telling us you guys are in your young early 20s. Your 20s are to make mistakes and learn as much as you can and your 30s are to like be professional, work your butt off, and just like make yourself who you are gonna be. And then like your 50s and 40 or your 40s and 50s are so you can like live and like harvest all the riches that you like work so hard to get. And to me, I was like, that's some good advice. However, I had not like really looked into
Plan that ahead.
Yeah, plan that ahead yet. Because I'm like, I'm 21. I'm living out my dream as I was going. Because like coming from a small town, I really didn't have like role models that would show me like, oh, you can do great things in life. You can do things that are like super big. You can do whatever you want type of thing. Like I really didn't have role models to dream to be anything like, I don't know. So to me, everything was new. Going to university for the like being the first one in my family, other than my older sister who had just entered university 2 years prior. I really didn't have, I guess, that example of wanting to be someone big. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to create my own version of who I want to be. So I guess I never really had expectations of who I was going to be in my like mid-20s, which is sad, but it was all new and fun to me. So I feel like my ceiling was endless because I could do whatever I wanted. But one thing that I do know, and it was like clear, and I always said, I was like, I want to live in a different country. I want to study in a different country for at least like, I don't know, like 6 months. And I did that, which was weird and crazy and cool all in the same time. But it happened way too quick. I honestly thought it would happen by the time I was 25 or something. But at 21, I was already like living in Korea. And by the time I got home, I was so depressed. I was like,
is it over?
Yeah. I'm like, it's over. I'm like, I worked so hard. Like I worked my butt off to just be so good in school, like earn some really great scholarships just so I could get the opportunity to do something like that, which like I don't know, if you asked 6th grade Maribel, she would have never believed that could have been an option for her. So just like knowing that I did that and I did it so quick and easy, it was like, no, it wasn't quick and easy. It was hard work. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, I dreamed it. It happened. Now what? Like, what do I do? And that drove me nuts and crazy. I was like, oh, what do I do next? What other dreams do I have? What do I have to dream up and do? Like, I've accomplished this much. Like, what's next? And I always volunteered when I was young. Like, I would always volunteer at art events or like helping at the food bank and just like shelters and what do you call it? I love going to old people homes. What do you call those?
Nursing homes?
Nursing homes, yeah. And like recently I've been thinking of like getting back into volunteering and just like helping. I know it's like really hard because of like pandemic and we all have to be very like safe about it, but that's another thing. I'm like, I was so passionate about that and I just want to help more. So that's like another dream, I guess, I've been trying to live by more, and just like finding new dreams. I think that's what my 2020 like mid-20s is looking like, because like so many things that I had planned just like were canceled because of 2020 and this world. That's one thing that I learned. You really can't plan for your life because life will come back knocking and be like, hey, yeah, no, we can't work with your plans. Like, can we reschedule? So yeah, I guess finding new dreams has to be a whole life thing, not just like a year thing. I imagine to be dating in my 20s, which is another thing that I know we might bring up. And yeah, that hasn't happened yet. So
So I guess thinking back to like junior, senior year of college, like when we're just starting our 20s.
That's too long ago.
I know.
I was like, I was a child then. Wow.
But yeah, I think how I imagined my mid-20s when I was the beginning of my 20s is kind of, I guess I'm living it right now, I would say. Because like I imagined having a good design job at a company, working my way up to like a senior designer. I'm not a senior designer yet, but I am one of the main designers. So there's that. And then financially, I would say I am at where I imagined myself to be. And I live at home, so I'm saving a lot of money. And
Jealous.
yeah. That's what I planned for because I didn't really plan to move out anytime soon. But yeah, so, well, and then what Maribel said, kind of dating, I imagined myself to be like in a serious relationship, like almost to the point of like marriage, but that's not happening. But with that being said, now that I'm in my mid-20s, I'm kind of like, I guess, lost because after we graduated college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, except to get a job and like start making money. And I was hoping by like my mid-20s I would figure that out, like what I want to do. But quarter life crisis. I'm starting to like question what I want to do with my life now.
Certain things, like I always ask myself, like, why do I need to get a job? Like, why do I need to stay in this company? That kind of questions.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're like,
why can't we have a farm and just live isolated?
Yeah, with a bunch of doggies and kitties, and then I don't know, bunnies. That would be my life goal. I literally want to live somewhere that far away from the city where no one knows me. I don't know anybody, and then I'll have a farm with a bunch of animals. Then I talk to them every day.
Sounds like a dream.
Yeah, I do feel the same. I feel like right now I kind of have more time to think about what I want in life. I find myself start questioning the thing I do a lot. Like I always want to give a reason why I'm doing certain things, and then I am finding a hard time just knowing why that I'm doing it. And then I will just, I don't know, ask myself like, even why did you go to college? I mean, which is a good thing. Otherwise, I wouldn't know you guys. But like, I'll ask them like, why did you do certain things? Is that because you want to get a job? And then now you have a job, and now what? Right? Like, because I think I might go a little bit more in depth here, because now, like, sometimes I would think about like we all have this certain privilege of not need to care about our family, like our family do not need our like financial support, that kind of thing. Like the only thing, or not a thing, or like the only person that we need to care about is ourselves. So that opens up a lot of like uncertainties, where like the decision making is on ourselves, what you wanted to do, what you want to pursue in life. And that just like there's a million doors that suddenly just open up to you, and then what you're taking next, it's a question, which is so hard to make, because you only can take one out of the million, and there's no regret really, because any doors you go in there, I feel like you need to take a time to like really, work hard to get what like it'll lead you to, right? You can't just go in there and then just like take like really like superficial work, and then the like look and feel of it, and then we're going, okay, I don't want to do one, and then just kind of quit. But that's not how it would be, right? Like you will, like just like everyone would stay in their career for like 20 or 40 years, in order to be successful. So that, I think, that's something kind of struggles me a lot, and then that make me think about a lot, like what I really wanted to do for a decent amount of time in my life, that I can't really take a step back to regret about it, because that's a decision I will be making for myself, right? There's no one really to blame to if I did regret about it.
I think one question that I'm like asking myself a lot nowadays is like, why can't I do this? Like so and so like done it. Like why can't I? And like what am I waiting for? So
yeah, do it. Just do it.
I think it's a great question to ask. Like, why can't I do it? It's like kind of motivation, because I know during these times we kind of seek out like a glimpse, a sliver of like hope for the future, and it's like, yeah, why not me? Why can't I? Like, I can do anything from my phone, from like my house. Essentially, that's what we've realized in this world, that we can do everything remote, which is crazy, because compared to a super fast-paced world that we were living before, you had to commute, you had to get somewhere, you had to do things in order to function in society. And now it's like I can function from my home, and I can do it pretty much like do anything. So yeah, that's a great question. I will take that from you, and I will ask myself that.
Think about it for fun, right? Else, just add some, I don't know, dimensions to your life, I guess.
Yeah. But you know what? I have been finding that that's like the hard thing in my life now. Like, I'm good at so many things. I'm just not an expert in one thing, which like I prefer being really good at a lot of things than like being an expert at one thing. However, it like also leads you into a madness, like a place of madness, because you're like what do I do now? Like,
I think that's a struggle of being like a creative person, because we like trying so many things. So you're like, you know how to do like this and that, but you're not like an expert at it.
Yeah.
What about you, Carol?
How's your late 20s?
Okay.
How'd you get through your midlife crisis?
Quarter life.
Quarter life. How did I get through my quarter life?
How did you get through your quarter life?
So I'm going from how did I go through my quarter life crisis? I'm hitting my midlife crisis. That's how I'm going through it. That's pretty much how it is.
No.
So I did not actually expect myself to be where I am at this point. Like, I had very, I guess, goals that were like, I think something that might not have been achievable. So they were very much like, I would like to be working at certain places. I wanted to have have my brand or blah, 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 stuff like that, which I don't have.
But you're like the most experienced person out of us. Like just like how many fashion shows that you've been like experienced or like participate and showcase your work.
So many connections.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could say that, but it's like, it also helped when you were able to gather in a space or like at school, in a place where you basically have people around you that you can network with. But now that, of course, the pandemic is here, you're not exactly networking. You're not exactly able to have that conversation. And I guess for me, I personally like doing the face-to-face talk rather than like, let's say, online chat, and sometimes the other way around. But for like connections this way, it's nicer to have in-person conversation, especially if we want to like show examples and we want to sketch something out or like plan something. It's easier just to like set a time, meet and do it in person, or like go to that place, meet and do it, ask questions there, talk to people and show them But of course, you can do that virtually, as we've all learned to do this past year. But it's just not, it still feels a little bit not as, I guess, how do you say it? Like organic? Like things don't pop up. You can't do things as spontaneously. And then like, if anything, you can't really like
finger.
Huh?
This idea, like a snap of finger, the idea just pops out.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you can sit there in a meeting and you'll just be like blank the whole time. But like when you're out and you're in the environment, you're like getting all of this like ideas and it just pops into you real fast. But like when you're just at home, it's kind of hard. And you're stuck in like what do you call it, the phase of your life where you like don't know what you want to do. Or you're questioning what you're doing.
I totally get the whole not being organic thing, because like how did we meet? We met at like an event like somewhere. Yes. And it was like organic, it just happened. But I can't imagine like people not being in college or not having these opportunities to network and like getting to experience basically life. Because like I feel like we've been there, we've like known, we've dealt with like developing friendships, developing like networking relationships and stuff like that. And that's what like kind of led us to our like careers or like positions in work and stuff like that. Whereas now people have to deal with like an email address. If I reach out to this email address, will they like
respond
or reciprocate like that same like value that you would have with a person in person? So like that's so difficult. And I get you, girl. I understand completely of like wanting it organically, because like it's, yeah, you really can't force things. And in your 20s, I feel like you kind of leave it up to a lot of opportunity and like fate, I guess. It's like you work towards it, but there's a like certain I guess factor of like luck and opportunity that has to do with it. Like you can't make everything for yourself. You have to allow things to fall into place too.
Yes, and especially like being like in a school environment where you have so many opportunities to talk to people and connections and things like that. It's like, that's why I like, if I could go back to school, I would, especially for those connections that you could make. I think for me, when I was back in college over in Cali for fashion, like I should have taken the opportunity to really connect with the instructors and stuff, because I felt like I probably missed out on a good ton of opportunities that could have happened, because most of the times, it's not the grade that's going to get you the job.
No, never. No.
So like it's mostly you got to have the experience, you have to have the connection. You have to have somebody basically backing you, saying that you have the quality that could succeed for them.
Someone's reputation.
Yes.
It helps a lot. Yeah.
And that reputation, like, getting those recommendation letters, like you have to really get close to your instructors in order not like get close to your instructors, as in at least let them know you exist and you're different from the rest of the students, because they have a ton of students. So how are they going to remember you? And if someone is asking you for a recommendation letter, you're like, how are they going to tell this person or employer that you're applying for, like how are they going to really tell them what you're capable of? Either a very specific, letter of recommendation, or a very vague recommendation, or even sometimes not even a recommendation, because they don't remember you. So in that sense, I wish I'd done things differently, but I wish like my 20s and the last few years of my 20s that I could probably change it up at least, and step out of my comfort zone before settling even more, and get into that mindset where you've just kind of let things go and kind of like, okay, that's it. This is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to stay. Because a few years back, I was pretty excited to like, I will go anywhere for any job. But now it's like, maybe I want to find something close to home. I'm like, I don't want to waste my years away. Come on.
I think I've heard someone said, or maybe it's like, I don't know, an old say in Chinese that you should never feel settled because the settlement is for dead people.
Dang.
Yeah, I think like once you settle or like become comfortable with where you're at, you don't really grow, because you always have to like have, goals and like ambitions. And like if you keep working towards it, you'll like keep growing. But if you're like, oh, I'm happy where I'm at, then you stop growing.
That's not a really good sign, where you feel comfortable with where you're at. Yeah, for sure. And a lot of time I find, like we always think about, at least myself, I always think about, okay, I wish I could have done that. I wish I could have taken that route. I'll be a lot happier. Like things will go a lot smoother. And until I think back in the day, like my parent or someone said that to me, you think the other route will make you a lot happier, like, make things go a lot smoother, is because you didn't take that route.
Mm-hmm.
If you took that route, you'll probably think about the other way would be like, a lot better. Logically, I think that makes sense.
It does make sense. I feel like if we're talking about things that we wish we would have done, or not, would have done better. I kind of want to add to the whole like going for it more idea. I had a lot of walls up and a lot of insecurities, and I feel like I didn't go for things that I knew were a for sure thing. Like even in relationships, I guess, like it was like a lot of gray area. There was like a lot of things that I wasn't true to myself with, and that's kind of sad, I feel, because like looking back, it's like, oh, that could have been an opportunity. I could have done this, but it was because I wasn't confident enough, or I didn't reassure like people or things like that it never turned into anything. And like I remember listening to this one song, and it just hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, like being 25 and just like having the song reaffirm like, yeah, you should have gone for it. And I was like, oh wow, like, do we regret this? No, but I think we could learn from these things. And like, I guess now I'm a little more open and like accepting to a lot more things. Whereas in my early 20s, I feel like I was all business. I was like, I'm not letting walls down. I'm going to do this and do that. And it was like strictly to get like to a different place in life rather than like just enjoying life, which is kind of sad. But I feel like we all want to do so much and we think that we're running out of time. But when you actually have that time, you realize like, no, like take a chill and just like find like a pace in your life where you can embrace like all the things and actually enjoy life. But yeah, like not playing a character, not being animated, but just being yourself. And I think that's so important. So important. So I'm like, I learned a lot.
Yeah, there was something I read online. It was like everyone has their own timeline. And like that's very hard to I guess like comprehend, because like everyone, it feels like, oh, okay, you're 20, you go to college, you graduate, you find a job, and now you're in your mid 20s, you should know what you're doing. And then by 30, maybe you're like gonna start settling down and have a kid. But if you think about it, like everyone is running on like their own speed. And like some people start late and some people start early. Like some people can be like a CEO at like 23, or some people are CEOs at like when they're 50. So
CEO
it's just
at
like
23 and managing 3 people. I've seen that. It's not just out of nowhere. I've seen that.
Yeah. So it's like it's okay to be late. It's like you're running at your own speed. So that's like something we have to kind of like focus on.
And then I really like, I guess these years have really put relationships into perspective for me, at least. And I'm like, when do I fall into someone else's timeline? Like, how do you, like, dating is a weird concept for me, because I'm like, how do you fall into someone else's timeline when we're really not prepared to like especially during these times, it's so hard, and timing is everything, and it's just so hard. It's like there's never gonna be a right time, because we're all in our own timeline. So when it's right for you, it might not be right for someone else. And I don't know, it's like all about messing each other's lives up, because that's what's fun and chaotic. It's like, I'm gonna come into your world and mess it up, and hopefully you love that or you're ready for it. I'm like, now that I think about it, I'm like, I need a person that is adaptive, that can like roll with the punches. Like we need, those are important things. But yeah, it's so difficult.
I think this whole timeline thing is somewhat kind of toxic, because like people are saying, okay, you need to get married by 30, and then if you're not, you're getting like anxieties, or like you feel like you're fell behind your peers. Or like you need to be in certain jobs or like certain levels by certain age, and if you're not achieving that, you just feel like, oh my god, I'm like losing the game, that kind of thing. No, it's not. Some people find their best job in their 20s, some people find that in their 40s or 50s, that things like that. It's all their like all their own pace.
Yeah, like people are getting married now, but I feel like, I don't know, I'm just like starting my life. I'm like finally trying to like understanding what I like, what I want to do. Not actually yet, I'm still trying to figure that out, but it's like
it's fun.
I'm just starting.
I feel like figuring out what you want to do, like pursue in your career, it's really something fun for me to do. I think, at least for me, like you're discovering yourself, right? Like you're discovering what's out there and what you can find yourself interested into. It's a really, I think, a great experience, rather than just rushing, get into a relationship and get married and have kids and stuck with your kids, stuff like that.
I can't imagine that. And I have friends that like, they're great moms and they've been moms for years now, and I don't know, I just don't see myself in that life. Like I couldn't imagine giving up on some of my young dreams to be a mom. Like I commend them. I'm like, wow, like you're doing some great work there, but it's different. It's just not a life that I would have chosen for myself, or would have gone with it or pursued that, I guess. And yeah, it's the whole timeline thing, like you said, is toxic, because I don't want them comparing their life like, oh, I wonder if I wouldn't have had kids and like gotten married, I would have been doing like something like me, because like Maribel's life. No, Maribel's life is not perfect. Maribel's life, like, I do want those things. However, I guess they're further down the line for me. But I always thought it was really, I don't know, weird with the whole timeline things.
I think, yeah, that's a whole like timeline and the comparisons is something that we really should avoid.
Do you guys think that like
Not comparable.
comparisons hold you guys back, or like they stop you from doing stuff in your life?
I feel sometimes they do. Growing up in an Asian family, as you know, you're compared to your cousins, your siblings, what they do, what your parents hope for you to do. An artistic route is never the route.
Any culture artistic route is never the route.
Yes. So in that sense, you're like sometimes like, because artistic route is like, you know, you sometimes get the lucky star and you find what you want to do, and you can do what you want to do and make a living off of it. But most of the time it's very, I guess, unstable. So you'll do something here or there. And it's not for everyone, of course. And then there's some times where I question if I just want to do, you know, the 9-to-5 job and find something. And even though I've gone to school for certain things, like, do I want to continue? Because it's not. And of course, going back to like, you know, the timeline and how it's like, oh, I'm getting to that age. I need to be somewhere. I need to be doing something. I need to make something of myself already. And, you know, inside, I'm like, I don't want to give it up yet. But then you have everyone around you telling you, you know, you need to find something soon. You need to do that soon. And you're just like, I don't know. I just don't know. And then that pressure, and you're just like, should I just, you know, give it up? Does it matter at this point? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The overthinking bit of it. It's so terrible for mental health too, though. Like, I feel like being compared to so many, like, even within your own family, like sisters or brothers or just cousins, like you guys said, we're always gonna be compared. And sometimes it's like your parents are telling you, or your family members, anyone, your friends are telling you out of like the goodness of their hearts to encourage you, but sometimes that's not the way people are encouraged. I know that I'm a person that's like, I need to be positively like encouraged in order to move somewhere else, rather than like, oh, why can't you do this? I'm like, your words mean nothing to me. Like, I need to be like positively affirmed in order to be a better version of myself, rather than you comparing me and bringing me down in whatever way in order to be a better person or anything like that. So yeah, I guess like I also learned that sometimes you just have to not care what people are talking to you about. Like, in a sense, I know we talked about like being shameless, and sometimes it's like you're not proud of your work, or you're not proud of your anything you do, and you try to hide it when people are not receiving it with like
Support, you know?
However, sometimes it's like all about trial and error. Like, you have to find out for yourself. You have to have that experience in order to move on. But then there's a balance. You also need to know when to move on. So, and I think that's the important part of growing and learning. So,
Yeah, just ask them to back up and mind their own business.
yeah. True.
I have a funny yet sad-ish story. I think back in the days when I think when I was in college, and then there's one time I was back in China, and then I was with my aunt, and then she was just because I was like kind of towards the completion of my college back then, and then she was kind of saying that, do you want to go back, or do you want to come back, or do you want to stay and get a job there, or do you want to still like continue pursuing like a higher level education? And I was like, because at that time I was like, I wanted to get a job. I wanted to try what I can do out there in the like markets, and kind of see how far I can go, because I was just like trying out different internship, try to like, fulfill my resume, that kind of thing. Like I was preparing to get a job after I graduate. Like I did not just do nothing and start looking for a job the moment that I graduated, right? And then she was like, you should go to your master. You should continue study, because you're not going to get a job with your bachelor degree in China. I was like, did you just study abroad and then come back? Like, I mean, I didn't really say that, right? And then I was like, I basically just said that, okay, I'll try. I just find a lot of people like, I know that they want me to be good, right? Like they want me to be competitive when looking for a job in the job market. But I don't like people they never experience it. They just kind of assume things by hearing it from like here and there, just having that like, I don't know, like weird or like out of nowhere impression on certain things, because that's how like things are going. Like for some people that they've heard, that does not mean that it happens to everybody, right? And then that kind of just like she said that very like she was like pretty confident that you're just not gonna get a job with your bachelor degree coming back to China. I was like, how do you know? It's like you're not going to be successful with your like part-time job, like with your artwork. How do you know? Have you ever experienced that and you failed? Like they never, right? It never even thought about it. Like, how can you know that I'm just not going to be successful, or like I'm just not going to be okay with what I wanted to do, right? It's just, I just don't like that kind of, assumption just out of nowhere. And then you just like pretty much put a cab like onto my head, saying that I'm just not going to be fine. Like, I'm just not going to, like, things are not going to go well if I decide to pursue that route, that kind of thing.
I guess it's like, in that sense, putting the fear of failing in you. And of course, you shouldn't really be fearful of failing, because that's where you learn. And I wish I had not listened to some of the like people's comments and stuff like that, and just went ahead and did it anyways. And if I failed, then I would have learned from it myself, and taking it from experience.
I guess the concept of age doesn't really matter, and it's like experience does not equate. Like, I think experience is much more than like age. If you do a lot more, and it's like you need to kind of live through it to see it. And a lot of people are like, oh no, you're too young to understand. It's like, no, I've done a lot. I've experienced, I know. It's like I probably experienced a lot more, or like a different life. I think we should probably move on to this quote that we found. And I love C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis is such a good author. It says, you're never too old to set another goal or dream another dream. And that's just so cute and so dreamy, and so something that we should really live by. And I feel like I personally am living this out more and more each year, just like finding new dreams, finding new visions for my future, and just like trying to live those out and trying to accomplish them. Yeah, because I feel like I'm a person that thrives on finding new things and being ambitious, setting goals towards different things.
So now we will be moving on to the foodie segment. Today we will be talking about the hidden gems. So during the pandemic, there's still hidden gems, places that we like to eat at, whether it's in the state or out of the country. So what are some of your favorite hidden gems?
Well, I recently discovered mochi donuts, and I feel like I've always talked about mochi donuts, but they're so good. There's this really great place in Apache Junction, and they're called My Mochi, MAI Mochi, and they're so good. I love them so much. They are locally owned by, I think it might be a Japanese like dad and daughter situation. I don't know for sure, but they're so
sweet.
good. Yeah, it's so sweet. And I become their new customer. I discovered them off of TikTok. Thank you, TikTok. And yeah, they're so yummy. And I know that there's another place called Hot Bamboo. They have the bows.
I haven't been there.
Ooh, I think it's in Chandler actually. And they have like the little bows in different shapes. So they have like a little piggy one for the pork one, like with the filling with the pork. They have different like characters. So I know for like Serrano week, they had like all the what do you call it? Wait, what's the Hello Kitty? Is that Serrano? Serrano?
Ah,
Sanrio?
Sanrio?
Sorry. They had like all the Hello Kitty and like different characters that they have. And every week their characters change. So when I ordered from them, I had Olaf. Ooh, yummy.
Yeah, this is a bao place in Vancouver. They offer like a different color of baos, exactly xiaolong bao, but like they have a different like insert and with different colors. Super cool.
Ooh.
I just discovered it one day randomly on Instagram, and then I saved it, but never went.
I mean, I guess now you have to go check it out and then let us know if it's good. But yeah, I love trying new food places. I love desserts. What about you guys? Any in Arizona?
Oh, in Arizona. Okay.
Well, no. I mean, you can share too, whatever you
I
like,
would think
April.
about back in the days. I like to go. Sorry, that was a little bit ago that I have to think about. But I like recently I've been having like the takoyakis a lot in
Ooh.
Vancouver. They offer it sometime like just on the street. Then I'll just usually just go on and grab like a box of it, and it's like super good, super fresh.
Oof.
And
Wait, like, are you talking about like street stall? Like,
yeah. Like they have like a Japanese like a street stall, and then offer like takoyaki, like all kinds
you
of
get the fresh ones? Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Put like the sauces on top.
Yeah, they put I don't know what you call that, like
Mayo?
yeah, like
Yeah.
the sauce for like the octopus, but they also put like the waving thing. But like it's like super thin because the takoyaki is really hot. So like when you put on there, like the hot kind of the
Wait, is it
thing
the
is like
brown
making
color or is
waving.
it the green
Yeah,
color?
the brown color. It's got something flakes. I remember it now.
It's bonito flakes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I usually at Matsuri I would get the tappyaki too. It's so good.
I like it so much that I bought those like frozen ones. Then I also bought a sauce from Amazon for like $20.
Oh my gosh, you must have been really craving this.
I know, like I must have been out of mind, but that's the only place where I can find it. On Amazon, I was a little weird, but I just got it, and then yeah, just because like if you eat it like plain, it just like doesn't really have a flavor. So it'll
You
be
need
good
the
to
sauce.
yeah, It'll be
You need
better
to
with
recreate
sauce.
those flavors. I love
Oh,
it.
I remember what I always had back in Arizona, but it's not really a hidden gem. Like I feel like everyone likes it. I always get like crepes.
Crepes are so good. Wait, where would you go?
I went to there's one oh my god. There's a shopping mall in Phoenix. What is it called? Biltmore. I went for that one. But crepes are very common. It's like you just get on the street or like in a random place that you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
I always have the grapes that has like the whipped cream and strawberry. Oh my
Oh,
god.
so yummy. I bought a crepe machine or like a hot skillet thing to make crepes. And like me and my sister, we had like this, I think it was like 2 years ago or a year ago, that we would just make crepes. Like anybody would come to our house, we would make them crepes. It was kind of like our version of coffee and like cookies or coffee and whatever, or tea and cookies.
That
I
sounds
want
so
there to
good.
be crepes.
Thing called like it's like a ice cream kind of thing, but they're making it kind of like how they're making crepes.
Rolled ice cream.
Yeah, bro, ice cream. I never had that, but I like literally seeing that everywhere. Have
It's
you
really
tried that?
like creamy and heavy.
Yeah. It sounds
Yeah.
like it.
I'm not the
So-
biggest fan of ice cream, but I've had it before and it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow. I love frozen yogurt. So I'm like, take me to frozen yogurt. I love it. All the toppings. I'm gonna just put so many strawberries and like fresh toppings. But there's also this place in Santan. I don't know if you guys go out there very often.
No.
But there is this French bakery called La Madeleine, and they sell like tarts, like
Mhm.
French fruit tarts and stuff like that, and bread, and they have like fresh baked breads and stuff. And I stumbled upon it, and I love their tarts, and like they have some cookies that taste like butter, and I'm like, oh, so good, so good. So yeah, it's a little more French. Kind of gives me vibes of Paris baguette or like tous les jours, but just like a little more French American rather than like Korean flavors, which is a little different. But it's still yummy. Because I love tous les jours and Paris baguette too. They're so yummy.
I don't know if it's a hidden gem, but so it's like it's called Hong Kong Diner. It's like the best Chinese restaurant. Like my family has been going there since I can remember. And there's like pictures of us since we were like very little. And we just like every time it's like my grandma's birthday or if it's like a holiday, we'd always go there. And it's funny because we used to have like one table and we like sit like the 10 people and then it keeps growing. Now we have
Oh
like
wow.
I think we need like 2.5 tables now.
Adults
Where's
to one
this
table,
place?
kids on one table.
But
Because
now
we
there's
get a
like
different set of
grandkids.
food.
Yeah.
Oh dang.
And it's
Where
like
where is it at? Where is it
Restaurant
located?
or dim sum?
Rural and Ray.
Rural,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Sounds very close to school.
It is pretty close to school. Yeah, but it's so good.
It's
You
like
have to
a
get
restaurant kind of
Mhm,
thing,
yes,
or
it's a
like a dim
restaurant.
sum. Oh, okay. But they offer dim sum too, right? It sounds like they would. Or no?
No,
No.
they don't do dim sum. They do like a lunch buffet. I've
Oh.
never been to the lunch buffet because we go and get like the table set meals and like add on dishes. But like literally
Mhm.
everything is so good.
Yeah, I haven't had dim sum for a while now, and then I really want to have one. Oh my god.
I know. Dim sum.
Yeah, you have to find some great dim sum order out places so you could just get some delivered to you.
I know. I mean, like for some food, I feel like you really have to just dine in to kind of
Yeah.
have the vibe.
I
Like
think
if
dim
you
sum's
just
one
take
of
home,
them.
yeah, I know, right? Like if you take home, it just kind of Yeah, it would just be like a type of food that you're eating, right? It's not like you're having dim sum. What I want is the vibe. It's not really the food. I mean, well, it's the food partially, but still like
You
let's
want the
have a
vibe.
while eating the food. Yeah, and that kind of thing.
We'll get dim sum one day.
Yes. In
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Come to Vancouver and then we'll have dim sum.
It'll be our tradition.
Plus all other kind of food.
I know.
Only just dim sum.
I had dim sum for the first time with you guys, so I'm like, you guys we experienced dim sum. You guys made my dim sum experience.
But you didn't try the food that, like only dim sum would offer. So you should try that
Chicken
next
feet.
time.
I guess you're right. Then we have to try it again. But yeah. What about you, Carol? What's a place?
There's a few places back in Cali that I really, really, really enjoyed. One of them was in Little Tokyo. I don't know if it's still there. I hope it is. But it was called Four Leaf. And they made...
Oh, I heard.
Is it gone?
I think so.
Oh, that's sad. But they did make the crepes, and that's where I would get the crepes. And they made basically sweet crepes or savory crepes, and I loved savory food. So I would get the savory crepe, and it was so crispy. Oh, it was delicious. And then there was another place. I don't remember what it's called, but it was in the in downtown LA, like a little small area nook, and it was like Japanese food, and it was really, really tiny, like a hole in the wall. And I would get, and they have really good sushi, sashimi.
Oh no. Oh my god.
Yeah.
We shouldn't really be talking about food at this time of the day.
I'm not gonna lie, my tummy just growled.
I'm getting hungry too.
And then I find a lot of good restaurants or like delicious food are all like located in like some unassuming buildings or like just very tiny spot of downtown or like out of nowhere. And they don't really like advertising or anything. People just go because like one would tell the other and another would tell more people, that kind of thing. Yeah.
No, literally,
Find
this
some
sushi
places.
place was so tiny.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, if you find some places randomly a really like weird place or out of nowhere, that's already telling you that's a good restaurant.
Right?
Yes. I agree. We love food. We love great dessert locations. You know that, like, we know a lot of places, but a lot of people don't know about them. I've introduced so many people to Snowtime, and they're like, even from out of town, they'll come to Phoenix and like Tempe Mesa just for Snowtime. I've had friends that just came into town for the Two Hands hot dogs.
Corn dogs. Oh,
Yeah. And it was just like, I introduced them to that too. But like at the same time, like TikTok has really taken like the opportunity to share these foods with people from out of town, and they come, even like they travel for this food. So it's really crazy to me. It's a crazy concept, but yeah, I love introducing people to new foods. I know like boba places, they always ask me like, what's the great boba place? And I'm like, stay away from powdered boba places. I'm not going to name any places that serve boba with powders, but you know who you are. So I'm like, stay away from them. And I just like recommend really good tea houses to them. So and it's all because you guys have introduced me to them too. I'm like, I have a good group of friends that have introduced me to those. So we want to be those friends for you.
Are those boba places that we went back in school times like are still there? Are they
Still there, plus more.
Plus more now.
There's more.
Oh,
There's actually more
wonder.
opening up.
That wraps up our show for today. If you haven't already, please make sure to follow us on Spotify. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please make sure to leave a 5-star review. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at a little bite of everything.pod. That's the acronym. ALBOE.pod. We will also be posting this recording on YouTube, so please make sure to leave a comment there. We hope that you have a delicious day.
Bye.
Bye.